Hello, Seth here. Today I'm going to be showing you the basic tools required for modeling in Newtek's Lightwave 3D program. Right here you'll see that I'm working with version 9.6, but all of this information will translate up to the most recent version of Lightwave. I'll start by creating objects. On the left-hand side you'll see a list of primitives. These primitives are objects that were pre-programmed in that they'll let you use right away. Start off by making a box. All the functions with these are click and drag. Right now in this window you can see that I've made a flat plane, and by pulling up here or here I've made a 3D box. Not super exciting. While it is in this selected mode here, there's a few things you can do. Using the arrow keys, up creates divisions vertically while down removes them, and right creates divisions vertically and left removes them. And it will adjust depending on which view you're in. Where here I'll create segments, and you can see they come here. Now in order to finalize your box, you either press space or enter, but if you don't like how it's turned out, you can click off to the side and it will never be created. Other objects that are creatable are a ball. One thing to note with the ball is it makes a flat disc when you first create it, and then when you pull up it makes a perfect sphere, or a sphere, not always perfect. Yeah, something like that. Important thing to note with this is as you push up, you're actually increasing the number of longitudinal lines, whereas down you're decreasing them. And then in this window you're increasing and decreasing the latitude with left and right. Can get it very simple. I think that's as simple as it gets. Three-sided, two divisions. Can I get this? Nope. More complexity, you get a smoother ball. Another thing to note is up top here, you'll see that you get a lot of triangles. Those are a little different than the squares that you usually deal with, the square polygons. And those can cause some problems if you're modeling, say, a head or a person. Over here there's the disk tool. Opens up just the same as the circle tool, or the ball tool. But when you pull it out, you'll see it creates a nice little cylinder. Again, the divisions increase with up, decrease with down, and you get layers with left and right. Something to note here is this polygon is a single polygon, but it's got many sides, and that can cause problems later with smoothing and other things like that. Next is the cone tool. This is a pretty useful tool for making teeth and claws and just small little embellishments to your models. You don't always have to use it, but it's a nice thing to have available. Just with the ball and disc, right increases the divisions vertically, whereas up and down decrease the segments. It's now a perfect four-sided polygon. Anyway, those are the main ones you'll use. Over on the side you'll see there's also a capsule. It works similar to the ball. You have a little less control over that. They also have a lot of these ones here. Toroid, wedge, gear, gears. A lot of these get taken out in the later versions, but they're kind of fun to play with in this version. Here it just creates a little gemstone. This one here is interesting. It's a teapot. It was the first thing that was ever modeled using Lightwave. Anyway, now that you're versed with these primitives, again, you probably won't see the diamond, the teapot, or the capsule in later versions. So I'll move those aside. Today we'll look at these. The main tools that we'll be going over today will be T, Y, H, and Shift H. So we'll start off with T. T can be used in any mode, polygon, edge, or point. Lets you select one thing. You push T and it allows you to move that polygon any position that you want in any of the windows. It doesn't change its orientation in any way, shape, or form, just lets you move it around. Y allows you to alter its orientation and rotate it. Good thing to note is Y is very, very difficult to use in the perspective view, because you have to line it up perfectly or you end up rotating on a very hard to understand axis. H, I'll use the cylinder for this. H is used to stretch. You can stretch something thinner, stretch it taller, re-straighten it out, and it's only applies to one direction at a time. You can stretch diagonally, which will make it thinner and taller at the same time, but will only apply to the direction that you're manipulating. Whereas a Shift H, scale, will stretch something out perfectly in all directions. This is pretty good for if you want to focus really close on an object and then make it small enough to fit your scene that you're creating. Those are the basic controls needed to create your own objects. Now there's one more control, and it's a bit more complicated. So I'll actually go onto a new layer, create a new box. lot of you might be thinking it's very hard to get something as complicated as a teapot out of a box or a ball or a disc, but the tool I'm going to show you now will allow you to add complexity to your objects. Beginners should use Shift H or Shift F. It's called a tool called Smooth Shift. It allows you to just add one layer of complexity to your model. Creates these 4 polygons all around it. In order to use it, you have to hold Shift, press F, click. Now if you had clicked once, it lets you, if you click and drag when you click, it lets you control the positioning of your polygon. Whereas this next tool will be used for more advanced people. It's E. E immediately does the same thing. There's no other control that lets you know that you've added a layer of complexity, but it does allow you to maintain the tool that you're on, so you can quickly add layer after layer of complexity and pull it and position it as you wish. There is another tool that does almost the same thing, and it's called bevel. If I grab a segment here like that and I use E and translate it out, move it out with T, right here you end up with this kind of result where these two seem to be bound perfectly. But sometimes you want to create 2 separate things that are right next to each other. And that's what the bevel tool is for. After you push B, the shortcut for bevel, it gives you the tool, and when you click, you can stretch and resize as well as reposition 2 or more polygons separately at once. It makes a big difference between this and Smooth Shift or Extrude E. And it helps with a lot of more complicated modeling. Alright. Other than that, I'll show you one last thing. And that is Lightwave has a built-in program to NURB or smooth objects. To activate this NURBing, you just push Tab. As you can see, it smoothed everything out. And if you look in this window, if I select this polygon, it's actually the polygon held in place by these points here and here. You can see how it's actually gone in and not at that position. Whereas if I untab, all of the objects return to their exact positions. This can be a little frustrating in circumstances where you have multi-sided polygons that will not be NURBed. But using triple or just making sure that all your polygons have 3 or 4 sides will fix that problem. Alright, that's all for today.